How is everyone doing? I just wanted to give you a showcase of what the garden looks like this fall. This garden's been through a lot this season, so it definitely reflects that. And I've been pretty busy. I've probably overextended myself. I have about 5 different gardens around town, but I'll go through and show you guys what I've been growing. So let's start it off easy. Right here I have my Chicago, one of my 2 Chicago hardy figs. I think I'm gonna get this guy in the ground this fall once it cools down a little bit. I got some of those going to seed promiscuous tomatoes. I kind of slacked on these. If I could do it over again, I would have just done a whole row of these promiscuous tomatoes, but I grew too many varieties and I was just trying them out. And it was kind of a benefit because I know what grows well here, what doesn't. So definitely not going to be growing any blue tomatoes intentionally from Baker Creek. Here's my scurry I up-potted. I'm also going to transplant that this fall, probably in a month or so, and get them in the ground. Here is actually a serviceberry I grew, and I tried to grow maypops, and they weren't coming up. So I kind of just like, oh, the seeds are bad, whatever, and I threw them in, I recycled the soil, and now they're popping up. So they definitely take a little bit, and they definitely rely on soil temperature. I actually think I have one about to bloom or flower right here, so it's funny. This is year 1. I haven't grown these before, so they're kind of scattered everywhere. Some people have issues with them taking over, but here, in my experience, they get outcompeted, and it's dry enough that they don't really have the vigor like they do out east. Here's some rhubarb, purslane with another serviceberry. Some more. These are some asparagus I grew from seed. I'm gonna try to transplant those out when they go dormant. These were the Hopness or the American groundnut. They did not like being in a pot, so I don't know how people grow them in a pot. I put these in here and they grew some vines, but once they got hot and they got direct sun, they didn't like that. They're definitely an edge species if you see them in the wild. And like I said, here's more maypops that I forgot about. Originally there was actually some American hazelnut, and those all failed. So these are kind of my saving grace, I guess. Some Jerusalem artichokes. These ones actually rooted in the ground, so they might be permanent now. So I'm actually gonna get rid of this pot. I did put some Hopness or American groundnut in here, but they never came up because it was too shaded. And I did that tier and they got outcompeted. It did vine out. My dwarf Orinoco banana. This was a Navajo blackberry, but it got too much sun and died. I dug up this guy. This guy never came out of dormancy, this pawpaw. So I'll have to check him again this spring or this fall. And then if he's dead, the roots are dead, I'll get him out of here. But I have other pawpaw trees that I'm growing. I'm gonna sell a few of these and then probably plant a few around. But like I said, most of these are all a cultivated, like purple or yellow, white to purple Jerusalem artichoke with some random sunflowers that I've let grow. I'm gonna chop them down and let them do whatever they want. I planted, this was supposed to be the improved Hopness, never came up. I'm gonna dig it out. I think I got scammed on Etsy. That guy I took a risk. I knew the risk, so I don't really care. But won't buy. That seller doesn't even sell stuff anymore. Thankfully, if he's gonna scam people. He did send me the thing, but it just never germinated. So it's just in here, just waiting for something. But I have some rosemary. I bring this in every year. Rosemary doesn't survive well in zone 6 unless you get some certain variety that may or may not die, depending on how you isolate it and winterize it. So more Jerusalem artichokes. Like I said, I'm gonna reduce some of my potted ones because I have some wild Jerusalem artichokes behind that corn that are doing fabulous, and I'm gonna dig those guys up instead. Another dwarf Orinoco that needs badly repotted. And these were my fava beans from growing to seed. Ironically, these were supposed to have died a long time ago. It's been in the 90s and hundreds, and they're still trying to put out pods. I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, they're still trying to put out a few pods, and I think it's really cool. I've gotten a few seeds into the late summer, so I'm definitely saving these seeds. I don't know how many people let these keep growing because they're obviously not super productive, but this is the first time I've ever grown fava beans. And they don't seem to love, we had a really warm and dry spring, and they definitely don't seem to appreciate that. They didn't get as tall as I'd like, and nor were they that productive. I did make a little bit more seed than what I got, and I'm gonna send some back, but we'll try it again, and I don't know if I should inoculate it or what, but you can see it's still trying to flower. And it's funny because we've had a few little cool days, so it's still trying. Like I said, I'll leave them and see if they get some more production in the spring if they survive, or the fall if they survive. But I just planted a rutabaga landrace, and then a carrot landrace, and then in front of that a beet landrace. So I have some red beets next to some sugar beets next to all that. And sugar beets don't necessarily taste that good, but they also are very hardy. So I like that about them. So I'm gonna try to get some of that genetics, make them a little bit better tasting with some of these other more edible varieties, and just kind of create like a super strong, big, tasty beet, ideally. But we'll see. Here's that astronomy domine, whatever. It's that Joseph Lofthouse kind of landrace sweet corn. It hasn't loved this. I might stop growing corn here for a couple of years because this corn just is doing really bad. And where it's not getting shade from the tree of heaven, it just stunts out. And it did this the last few years, and I've been irrigating this, so not necessarily as deep as I probably should, but it's a stark difference, you know, if you look at those to those. And these were only, I think, 60 days to maturity. They're very early. They're for the spring. So I was kind of questioning how they would do in this heat. But, I mean, they're about to put out tassels. So I'm going to have to bag some stuff. I'm still trying to save seed from these nitrogen fixing ones, but these guys are a little too late or long season. Most of these are already matured that are going to mature, but I'm going to bag some of these ears. Or probably end up bagging these tassels since there's not that many tasseling out. I'll bag the tassels, prevent them from getting their pollen out, and make sure I have this, because this, I mean, it's a landrace already, it doesn't matter. But I'd like to save this trait and get that into my grain landrace next year, and potentially get some more different nitrogen fixing corn varieties that will do it on a consistent basis. And let's go check out that corn. Speaking of that, here I have some buckwheat. I don't know what happened. I had a whole bunch of seed on here, and then I must have forgotten. It must have all fell down. But oh well, I can always buy more buckwheat seeds cheap. Like I said, here's the purple. It's the purple Appalachian self-feeding corn, and so far it's pretty crazy. Like, this is pretty tall. This is probably close to 10 feet tall. I've been irrigating it, but it's definitely been inconsistent because I can't get up here. These guys are growing like right next to the edge, and these were a little bit stunted, but they're just now pollinating, whereas these guys are finishing up. And there's a few ears in here. We'll see how much seed I get. I'm supposed to share these if these produce well, but as you can see, there's some of my asparagus bed. I need to move this asparagus because, as you can tell, fences are being built and they're going to get shaded out. I'm only going to get morning and evening sun, unfortunately. But this is why I love the corn patch. See all the bees flying around and June beetles and all that. And behind those, you can see the Jerusalem artichoke that I got from the river here. These are wild. They're showing that they're wild. They're huge. And I usually never have luck. These guys put out their tubers pretty far in the ground. So, and I've kind of figured out how to deal with them. They will spread all the way over here, but I just keep pulling them out and dropping them. Like, there's a guy right here doing it, and I'll do this. And eventually they stop trying. Once it gets hot enough and they get stressed, they stop trying. And I also am letting some honey vine grow up here. I think I'm gonna put some maypops over here and let them climb up this. But I did throw some beans out here these are those Moro beans, or Mburu beans, or Mabambo beans. Yeah, Mabambo beans. They're an African green common pole bean. I had a few out here. They didn't love the competition with the grass, so we'll see if I get my seed back. Oh, there's a pod actually right here. And it's not dry yet, but we're only gonna get like a bean from that. But I'm thankful for that bean. And like I said, I've added some of these to my lamb. Look at those guys putting in overtime. You can see some little, trying to put out some cobs. These guys are a little late, but I don't know why this was so inconsistent. Maybe it's because these guys were getting a little bit more direct sun. I planted these way too crowded. If I could do it again, I would have spaced them out a couple more feet back, but it seemed like a lot at the time. Here's those Amish paste tomatoes. These guys are very big, but they haven't really produced any fruit. So I'm hoping they're like San Marzanos for me, where they produce a lot at the end of the season. I wouldn't mind that, but it definitely has taken a lot of space in my garden. These were all collard greens and kale for a long time, but this year I had, since we had that mild winter, we had Harlequin beetles come in, unfortunately, and they've literally killed out my entire brassica patch here, which is okay. They've been here for 3 years, so I was kind of expecting a pest to come in. So even with the buckwheat growing, I thought I would attract some parasitic wasps that will help get those eggs out of here. I actually read or listened to a guy talking about planting, he planted soybeans next to his brassicas, which actually they like decimated the beetle larvae or the beetle eggs because of the parasitic wasp. Like they noticed that with soybeans, they'd be on there, but there was no eggs. And it was because of some relationship with a pest and the proximity. So I'll try that next year. In front of here, I had some, I believe, calypso beans or yin yang beans. These guys did so bad, but now this guy's, he's my saving grace. In my last one, I had a couple more. I planted a whole row back here, and all of them got eaten by slugs except for a couple. Then one died out. It got some virus, which I think cowpeas are a host for some mosaic virus. But these guys haven't been that productive. I've been watering them, maybe not as much as I should, like I said. But this is also a brand new area. It had never been farmed. It was just grass. So I've gotten I've gotten more than I planted. So, and there's more to be picked here once it cools down a little bit. So I'll watch for them. Here is some lettuce that I let bolt. Unfortunately, I had a whole bunch of good heads, but our storm kind of knocked them out, and now I'm just saving seed. As you can tell, I need to weed back here. I had some purple cabbages. Those got killed by those beetles. Like I said, more of this Amish tomato. They're doing good. I have a kind of a mix over there by those guys. Was supposed to be all Romas, but it's a cherry tomato mixed with a couple Romas. So, and as you can tell, I let carrots self-seed wherever they want. I don't have an issue with wild carrots. Wild carrots don't really exist where I live. And people are more likely to eat poison hemlock or American hemlock before they eat a wild carrot, unless they live next to a farm or homestead. So you can see I've got a little guy pollinating this carrot seed. This was some of those white carrots I grown, mixed with some of these orange carrots that self-seeded. Got some coriander, some parsley, which I've been letting swallowtails hang out on. Oh, and I have some peppery beans I've been stepping on. These guys are interesting. I haven't been intentionally watering them, but they haven't really been producing any pods. So we'll see if they produce any pods. At the place where I've been neglecting them the most, and they have more shade than this, they get way more shade and way more weed competition, they produced a ton. So these guys haven't produced really anything. So we'll see. They look good. The plants look good. I love growing peppery beans. They're one of my favorite bean crops to grow so far. And I'm excited to see what happens with them. But I also experimented with some potato onions, and I'll have to show you. I'll post a short, so if you check my channel, you'll see this short. I took one in, and there's a couple more I'll show. I had a lot more planted, but they kind of got not necessarily taken over by weeds, but a lot of them didn't transplant well. I might try direct seeding them one year. I was trying to do a land race. There's a guy on Etsy that sells them, and he sells seeds. So I've been buying seeds and starting them like regular onions. And I'm looking for any more. I had them all planted down this whole row, and there was one that was here, but I kept stepping on them because, as you can tell, there's too much seed. And I have some Zapotec onions, and I've been trying to save seed from Baker Creek. Sells a red, kind of like shallot looking onion, and I mean, I've been trying to save seeds. This is the second year. I thought onions were biennial. These guys seem to just duplicate before they put out seeds. So that's been interesting. So I've been letting these random wild garlics come up, and some other alliums like these Egyptian walking onions. I've gotten a few. I haven't really done much for these jalapenos, but I've gotten a few jalapenos from them. I don't know if you guys can see that. Kind of in the shade. That one's turning red, so I'm gonna save seeds from it. And this guy is gonna produce. I always get a big harvest in the fall, and I still have pickled jalapenos from last year. But here's some more. I just picked some of those potato onions. I have that one over there, as I just showed you, and these guys, as you can see, I just pulled this guy. So I heard I want to get seeds from this because they do better if you grow them from seed, allegedly. But I'm gonna save some from seed and do a control and grow some from clone and see how I like it. And like I said, this is my weeding style. I just throw them, pick and throw back down. And usually I don't pull out the roots, but I have a little sickle. This was bok choy. The bok choy did really good here. I think I showed you guys in my earlier video. I ate some of it, lets the rest go to seed. I didn't harvest the seed right, so it's been a pain in the ass to get the seed out of it, but I'll use a screen and sift it out. Here's one of those beetles. I don't know if you can see it moving right there, but they completely tore up my broccoli and my yeah, here they are. They completely tore up my broccoli and my Brussels sprouts and my daikon radish, which I still need to save a little bit of seed from. But yeah, I'm planning on taking a break from a lot of the main brassicas here for a year or two. And beets did fine. Beets, they're on beets, but they don't really mess with beets, surprisingly. I see more on okra than those guys. And here is my honey drip sorghum. It didn't get that much sun over here. I thought I'd get some more. So my okra's not doing great. And then I have, this one's more normal. So if I planted them more out, kind of over here, they would have done great. I have a mixture of okras. This is a landrace variety mixed with like a Louisiana 16-inch. I had some volunteer tomatoes coming out of there's some volunteer tomatoes and parsley coming out of my blueberry plants. I'm hoping they fruit next year, but these are the same variety, I think. So we'll be lucky. They might not. I put another fig, Chicago Hardy fig, in there. It really needs to go in the ground. These were some, what peppers were these? Poblanos, ancho poblano or whatever. And these ones were getting tore up by hornworms. I usually never have issues with hornworms. I usually plant marigolds and basil and all that stuff with them, but this year my basil didn't do that good. Next year I'm gonna try a different method. So we have this, and then some sweet Thai basil with Arc Prime Freedom. Blackberry I got from a fellow colleague at work on his own orchard. This was, I think, golden raspberries. And this is, I can't remember, it's like some red, it was not a red, it was a red raspberry. Oh no, a black raspberry. I can't remember the name. I used to know. I'll have to check I still have the label, but, and then with some mountain mint, which I'm gonna plant in next to the raspberries as a ground cover, beyond the grass, and get some pollination coming in. So a lot of people are probably screaming at me, don't do it like the Interstellar guy, but I think it'll be fine. Around these flowers, I really wanted to make a echinacea tincture. I just got really busy with all the gardens I have, and I never did. I could still do it. At my work, they have echinacea too, and I'm probably gonna end up cutting some of those, but I did plant some butterfly milkweed here, so I'm hoping it does good. It's been in there for a while. It survived the heat, so we'll see. And here are some pawpaws I grew from seed this year. I usually sell some, and I planted about 4 in here, but some of the squirrels kept digging them up. So some of them, they got completely dug up, or all the beans got or the seeds got taken out, so they didn't sprout. And sometimes I've learned that seeds germinate when they want to, and a lot of these might have been duds and, you know, dried out sometime. So, but I mean, that's pretty good success rate. If I did 3 or 4 in each one, to get 2, this is 1, this guy has 3, 2, 2, 1, 3, you know, that's pretty good success. So I'm gonna let these grow for probably another year or sell them for cheap. And I really want to make pawpaws available here because they grow here and no one really sells them consistently. So I'd like to get these started so then pawpaws are in my hometown and they're easy to access for people, because I think they're a great fruit, and why not eat local fruit instead of having it shipped all the way from California and across the world. And here's some of those strawberries. I forget which variety. I think these are All-Star and some other variety. They tolerate part shade, but they don't produce well in part shade. So I've just been using these and moving those around to sunnier spots, and they're like double in size. I threw some celery in here, and they're next to my parsley. So there's some celery right here. It's doing okay, but yeah, I've been kind of ignoring this area. What's been doing good is actually this thyme. I had thyme here before, and I let it die out, unfortunately. So not going to make that mistake again. I'd like to see if I can use this thyme as a living mulch, but it doesn't really have good weed suppression, so I'll have to experiment with it. Maybe a creeping thyme. But here's some Italian basil I grew, and obviously parsley and some Roma tomatoes. Like I said, I got tomatoes everywhere. But thank you guys for listening and hearing me ramble about my garden, one of many. I plan to show you many of my other gardens and some of my ideas along the way. I actually forgot to show you some of the peach trees and stuff that I let come up from my compost, so maybe I'll cover that in a future video. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions, any recommendations. I have a unique gardening style. A lot of people do not appreciate it, and people consider it lazy, even though I'm really thinking ecologically, not in the terms of production and yield all the time. I'd like to amend soil and repair soil without adding a whole bunch of stuff and needing to spend a lot of money. That makes gardening affordable and sustainable, and actually sometimes regenerative. So thank you guys again for listening, and like I said, keep in touch.